You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. Guys, I'm so excited. I'm nervous, okay, to interview my guest that I've been an admirer of for at least 20 years, maybe 25. And when I first heard the great, now I'm going to date myself, cassette, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, all right? And so I have the honor and distinct privilege to interview today Dr. Joel Wallach. And so what we're going to talk about, let me just preview out here. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and all the hysteria about that and things that you can do to protect your family. Okay, so that's what we're going to start with. So make sure you listen, get a pen and paper. So let's talk about Dr. Wallach, all right? So he is the author and narrator of the country's most famous audio cassette, now CD, all right? Dead Doctors Don't Lie. And over 40 million people have heard that. And Dr. Wallach is basically a man on a mission. So let me give you a little bit of background. He was born and raised in Missouri, or Missouri, depending on where you're from, right? And Dr. Wallach attended the University of Missouri, where he received a bachelor's degree in science and agriculture. He's worked as a veterinarian. He's worked as research veterinary pathologist with the National Institute of Health for the Center of Biology and Natural Systems, Washington University, St. Louis, Missouri, Yerkes Regional Primate Center in Atlanta, Georgia, Emory University. And so here's the thing. Having discovered and identified the first animal models of cystic fibrosis in monkeys, he found that he could reproduce their condition at will because of it was a nutritional deficiency. That's going to be a running theme, guys. And he found great promise for children with the disease. But when he made it public, did they take him down to Washington and give him a medal? No, they fired him. Okay. For telling the truth. And so Dr. Wallach made the decision to go on to medical school so he could treat children with cystic fibrosis himself. Later accepted an invitation to teach nutrition at the National College of Neuropathic Medicine in Oregon, eventually became a primary care physician. Okay, Dr. Wallach's a doctor. That's not a PhD. All right. And with a naturopathic degree, delivering babies, sewing up chainsaw wounds, writing prescriptions, getting paid by insurance, all that stuff, like a doctor. He's a doctor. All right. And with a program that encouraged an interest in nutrition. All right. And soon people began flocking to his clinics in Oregon. All right. He's got several books out. He's got the famous book, Let's Play Doctor, soon followed by Forbidden Cures. He's got a BS in agriculture in 1962. He's got a major in animal husbandry. He's got a doctor in vet. So he's a vet and a doctor. Okay. MD, a doctor of naturopathic medicine. You got a lot of stuff here, Doc. Doc, tell him, welcome to the Practical Wealth Show, Dr. Wallach.
Thank you, Kurt.
And
let me just make it
what
easy.
did I miss? Tell him what I didn't tell him.
Okay, I'll make it easy for you. Okay. I have a 4-year degree in military science, starting in 1958. Okay, heavy weapons, howitzers, and tanks.
Okay.
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I got my degree in veterinary medicine. I have my degree in agriculture, and my postdoctoral fellowship in pathology is at Washington University, as you said, represented 20,000 autopsies. It was a $25 million study. I was only 24 years old because I had discovered the first mass die-off in America from pollution in 1961, and everybody knew the Earth was going to end in 2 weeks from pollution. And did my 20,000 autopsies and proved that there were no genetically transmitted diseases, there were no genetically transmitted birth defects. My thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure as a result. Mm-hmm. I'm the father, a joint father with a guy by the name of Bruce Lipton, like Lipton tea, of the science of epigenetics, which has replaced the defunct study and theory and pseudoscience of genetics. Okay. And then I became a naturopathic physician, licensed in Oregon in 1982. And I treat 2 million people a day throughout the world using leverage of electronics. It's one of those things where I have prepackaged programs, okay, for over 900 different diseases, using the same principles we used in the animal industry. And of course, as you pointed out, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie was what brought my kind of learning and training up to the general public. It's actually 500 million copies have been sold.
Okay.
Okay. It's in 9 languages. Dead Doctors Don't Lie. That was the CD. Okay. I guess 40 million listened to the audio cassette tape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the CDs in 9 languages and over 500 million copies sold, and 14 best-selling books. And again, my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute of National Treasure. And that's because I figured out the cause, prevention, and cure for cystic fibrosis, as you pointed out. Thank you. Working with Jerry Lewis, I found out the cause, prevention, and cure of muscular dystrophy. I figured out the cause and prevention of sudden death syndrome. I did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died of a certain heart disease, which kill our young athletes. That's all published, in 3 languages. The English version is in the Journal of Trace Element Research. So people can look this up and see that I'm not just blowing my horn here.
Right.
I'm sharing this with you for credibility, because when we come out with the answer, which I have for the coronavirus, COVID-19, I know how to stop it in weeks. And so I wanted to give that credibility so people would listen.
Let's go there now, because that's on people's mind. People are out there losing their minds over this stuff. And, my philosophy and the philosophy of the Practical Wealth Show is stop looking for other people to solve your problems, right? You can, and whether it's, financial, which is what our show is about, but health-wise, I used to tell my clients, I said, listen, if you want to keep your healthcare costs, this is after being exposed to your stuff, of course, don't get sick, right? And if you do certain things that we're going to talk about, you can really give your body the ability to not do that. And so there are all kinds of viruses. There are ways to protect yourself. So let's talk about why it's used, because you just told me you discovered, why do kids get a pass? Millennials get it.
Let's go in chronological order.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Curtis. And basically, when I discovered the cause, preventions, and cures of things like cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, sudden death syndrome, I looked at the natural history. I looked at the progression of the disease. And so where can we intervene? Where can we prevent this? Where can we reverse it? Where can we stop it? What is it that the system is missing? And of course, the system is going to take 18 months to make a good vaccination for the coronavirus. It could take 18 months. Okay. And they're trying to use all kinds of stuff from the past, but they need a new vaccination to help reduce the number of infections in the next 18 months. Okay. That's going to take 18 months for that to be available. So you got to forget the vaccination. They can talk about it, but that's not realistic. So when you look at the natural history of the coronavirus, it affects people of all ages. It affects human beings of all ages. Kids get it. Most of them have no symptoms. Some will get minor symptoms like a common cold. When you're looking, I think there's been one teenager in America die, about 17 years of age, die from coronavirus. 97% of all the deaths are on people over the age of 65. The average age of death for the coronavirus is 80. But everybody from newborn babies to seniors get coronavirus. So why is it it's so fatal for older people and doesn't seem to bother young kids and millennials, people in their 30s and 40s and 50s? That's the question. Well, it turns out that you have to look at who are the warriors, who is in the military in your body, who is in the first wave, who are your defenders. Well, they're the white blood cells, the neutrophils, the lymphocytes, the eosinophils, and basophils. When one viral particle, whether it's HIV, whether it's rabies, whether it's flu virus, no matter which one it is, your white blood cells come out of your bone marrow, your lymph nodes, your thymus, your spleen. They come from everywhere and go to the point at which the virus invaded you, your nasal passages, your throat, your mouth, your cut skin, and they're in your blood. So the cavalry, was sent to meet and eat the viruses and bacteria. This is happening very efficiently in newborns and kids and teenagers and 20-year-olds and millennials. Mm-hmm. But there's a breakdown in seniors. What happened? Okay, we have to look at where in the body are the white blood cells made. They're made in the bone marrow.
Okay.
Your bone marrow is next to your heart is the second most important part of your cardiovascular system and your immune system. Next to your heart, your bone marrow. Nobody, including doctors, pays attention to it. That's why only dead doctors don't lie. They don't pay attention to the reality of the human physiology and so forth. So your cavalry comes from the bone marrow. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what age group starts getting? Well, let me say, what age group can't respond? There's no cavalry responding to the invasion by the viruses. Okay, that means that there's no white blood cells being produced or released, one or the other.
Right.
Okay, and they're formed and released from the bone marrow. So, what disease can all vertebrates, including newborn babies, get, and teenagers and millennials and seniors get? But seniors get the worst percentages and the worst degree of this disease. What is the disease called?
Osteoporosis. Osteoporosis. Yes.
Okay. So your bone marrow cavity, when you have osteoporosis as a kid, slowly begins to fill up with connective tissue, essentially scar tissue, replacing the stem cells in your bone marrow that make white blood cells and antibodies. And long about 40, 50 years of age, you're in trouble. By the time you're 60, 70, you're in real trouble. And by the time you're in 80, you probably don't have any white blood cells coming out being made in your bone marrow anymore because you have major osteoporosis. Now, this has been, what should I say, backed up. When you look at what country has just surpassed China for the number of deaths and new cases of coronavirus.
Italy.
Yeah, Italy.
Okay.
They have just surpassed China. And in Europe, they have obviously the most cases and the most deaths and everything like that. And there was a big study done on the Italians 4 years ago on osteoporosis. They have the highest rate of osteoporosis in the world. Now, osteoporosis, again, is caused by a simple nutritional deficiency. It's not an aging thing. It has nothing to do with age. Babies can be born with osteoporosis if the mother doesn't have enough nutrition and she's not passing on that nutrition to her embryo. The baby can be born with osteoporosis.
Wow.
Okay, and has trouble making red blood cells and platelets, and they say, oh, you got all this immunity diseases, autoimmune diseases, and you got genetic diseases. No, it's just a simple nutritional deficiency because the baby was born with problem.
Osteoporosis, right?
Okay, now you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now osteoporosis is caused by deficiency of varying deficiencies of minerals and vitamins. Okay, vitamins, minerals deficiencies cause osteoporosis, not age.
Wow.
Okay,
let me. So one of the things is, and tell me if I'm oversimplifying this, that I got from your message was that most or all illness is based upon your research, is at its root cause some form of malnutrition because they're not getting the 90 essential vitamins, minerals, and amino acids.
That is correct.
Okay.
Now, there's probably a couple hundred viruses and, there are bacterial diseases and that kind of thing. I mean, medical doctors knew for sure as a fact for 2,000 years that the plagues were caused by evil spirits.
Right.
Okay. And so...
or bleeding people with leeches or...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's how they would treat. They would get rid of their evil spirits by bleeding them. Okay. And that was for 2,000 years. That was the level of knowledge of the medical system.
Right.
Okay. And so right now, why is it that Italy has the highest rate of deaths and new cases of the coronavirus, deaths and new cases of clinical disease? Everybody in the world is getting it, but they don't get clinical disease. Why do they get the clinical disease?
They don't have the white blood cell count to fight it off.
Okay, you get 100%. You get an A plus here, Curtis. Okay, they don't have the white blood cells. Well, they're made in the bone marrow, and you need the nutrition to get into the bone marrow so the stem cells there can make the white blood cells.
Right.
So what prevents? Now, so the obvious question is, why is it the nutrition is getting to the kids, but not getting to the seniors?
Right.
Okay. Well, have you ever heard of ulcerative colitis?
No.
Have you ever heard of celiac disease? Have you ever heard of Crohn's disease?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of irritable bowel syndrome? They're all the same disease. When you look at them under the microscope, they look the same. They're the same disease. They're just given different names by location where the disease is occurring worst in the intestinal tract. Now, this is one of the diseases that goes back to 300 years ago when sailors were dying by the thousands, days of sail.
Scurvy.
Well, they were dying of scurvy, but everything was scurvy, but it was really, everything wasn't scurvy, but
Okay.
But they blamed it on scurvy because that was the one thing they could recognize. And of course, the British became limeys because they prevented scurvy by taking limes with them. And they didn't know why, but the people who ate limes didn't get scurvy. Well, that's vitamin C was in the limes. You didn't need refrigeration to have a lime last for 2 months on the boat.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're just eating salt pork. Okay. But then there was also beriberi, another vitamin deficiency, and people would die from congestive heart failure. They'd lose their memory and they get congestive heart failure is what they would die from. Beriberi, another vitamin deficiency. And then they would die from pellagra, another vitamin deficiency. So when they said, well, everybody in the ship died from scurvy, it was a combination of beriberi, pellagra, scurvy, and all of it together.
Right.
Okay. And so here we go. So now they what is it that the Italians are famous for? What food are the Italians famous for?
I want to say pasta, spaghetti.
You got it. You got
Okay. All right. Okay.
Pasta, spaghetti, Italian bread, croutons in your salad, right? That's Italian. Okay. So it turns out that gluten, even Italian beer is made from, and even Italian bourbon and scotch and rye whiskey is made from wheat, barley, rye, and oats, which are the Italian hard grains, which are brought to Europe from Europe to North America and killing everybody in North America. It was brought from Europe and Italy because they were some of the big explorers, the Italians, right?
Right.
And took it to Africa and Asia and started killing them because they brought the grains with them. The people who eat rice and sweet potatoes don't die from corona.
Get out. Okay.
Now, it's nothing in the sweet potatoes and rice that prevents the corona, but the sweet potatoes and rice don't have the stuff in it that kills you.
Right. Gluten.
Like wheat, barley, rye, and oats, gluten. Gluten causes damage to your intestines. It's not an on-off switch like light on, light off. Okay? It's a gradual thing. You have these villi, these projections in your intestine, right? Increase your absorptive surface. Okay? Now, when you have a gluten intake, those villi slowly contract and go away. So now you just have a tube like a hose. You've lost 95% of your absorptive surface, and the surface is turned into leather. So your absorption rate is 3%.
Wow.
So you go from 100% absorption as a kid to 3% when you're a 75-year-old grandmother. And so you're not able to, even if you're supplementing with high amounts of the 90 essential nutrients, including calcium and phosphorus and other minerals and vitamin D3 and everything, even though you're eating tons of it, you can only absorb 3% of it, and you're going to get the coronavirus symptoms. You're going to get a serious case. Okay, and you're going to die. And so the immediate thing to stop the corona progression here from symptoms of a common cold, okay, to real heavy cough, and they want ventilators, and then they give you antibiotics and things that they've used for other diseases, okay, and trying to somehow kill the bug. Killing the bug is okay, but that's not the answer to the problem. The problem is to get your own cavalry going here so you can stop it yourself.
Yes.
Stop eating gluten.
Yes. Stop eating gluten.
Drinking gluten.
Right.
Okay? No wheat, barley, rye, and oats. No pancakes, no waffles, no bagels, no donuts, no cookies, no crackers, no bread, no spaghetti, no mac and cheese. Okay? Absolutely, if you're going to drink beer, it's got to be Asian beer. Because Asian beer, Japanese and Korean and Chinese beer is made from rice. No scotch, bourbon, rye whiskey. You want to drink wine, it's got to be either rice wine or grape wine. That's fine. Okay. And then when you look at the Japanese and the Chinese, they live on rice and sweet potatoes and vegetables and animal proteins.
Right. Okay.
They never started eating wheat, barley, rye, and oats until the Europeans brought it to them. They don't have certain diseases we have because of the way they eat. The coronavirus, as you found out, was big in Wuhan, China.
Right.
It occurs in animals just like rabies. It occurs in animals the same as it does in people. And so in that open air market, when the hunters were selling raw meat from deer and rabbits and other animals they've killed, and they were selling the raw meat in the open air market in Wuhan, some of those animals were infected with the coronavirus, and they started the spread of it through that open air market. That's how it happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, it was only the city people that died in China, not the farmers who live on rice and sweet potatoes. The city people who are eating European foods, Italian bread, spaghetti, mac and cheese, waffles, pancakes, cookies, okay, Italian bread and croutons in your salad.
Wow. You talk about all the stuff people like. I used to say mac and cheese. My kids were like, what? They were listening to this. What?
You want
But
them to
yeah,
live?
you got to look for
rice, sweet potato.
gluten-free stuff. Like I bought some gluten-free pasta last week after
gluten-free pasta. They make it out of cauliflower and rice and potato flour. Okay, they make gluten-free pasta. That's my favorite. Now you got to watch sushi. Because of the gluten thing, I was eating sushi 3 days a week, and one day I woke up, man, I was red and itchy all over, which is what happens when I contact gluten. I said, well, yesterday I had sushi. I didn't have any possibility. So I went to the sushi restaurant and I say, do you guys make your own sushi rolls? Well, we used to. But then when the artist who was making the sushi roll was sick or on vacation, the substitute sucked and nobody liked it. Okay. So there's all these commercial companies that make packaged sushi rolls. So I ran to the store and got packaged sushi rolls and read the ingredients. There's 3 sources of wheat in sushi rolls manufactured for the stores. You know why?
Why is that?
Because people complained about the rice falling out of the sushi rolls before they ate it while they were heating it up. And so they put wheat flour in it to glue the rice in the sushi roll so it wouldn't fall out. So you cannot even eat pre-packaged sushi, and you can't eat sushi out of a sushi restaurant unless they have a sign up there saying, or they have a gluten-free menu saying, we have gluten-free soy sauce, we have gluten-free sushi. Okay.
So let me bring out a point here. I want people get. I want y'all to take notes on this stuff. So one of the things you've got to do to begin to because if you work backwards, it's because everybody's most medicine deals with let's kill this bug. But what happens is if you work backwards, well, it's a problem with bone marrow, which is a problem with this because it's a problem of absorption. So you've got to work backwards.
That's right.
To people are treating symptoms, but you need to cure the problem. The root cause of the problem is Curtis, really your philosophy.
Yes, Curtis, that's why my thesis is, which was 5,000 pages, represented 20,000 autopsies. Okay. Nobody had ever done this many autopsies in one project. Okay. I want you to think about it. When a medical doctor, a PhD, does a research project on a new disease, a new nutrient, a new pharmaceutical, they'll do autopsies on 100 white rats. I did 20,000 autopsies on 454 different species, including humans, 17,000 some change, over 454 species of zoo animals and 3,000 humans. My thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Ask your doctor if he has a thesis in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Ask him how many personally autopsies has he or she done. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to give credibility to my observations.
Right.
Okay, they realize it. That's why my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute.
Right.
You want to take a guess how much one copy of my thesis has had hard covers put on? They sell them as textbook. W.B. Saunders, the biggest publishing house, for you know what one copy would cost you if it's still in the box?
No.
A new copy, $25,000.
Wow.
One new copy of my book costs $25,000. They published 30,000 copies. Used in good condition, they sell for $10,000. And again, I'm not telling you that to brag. It's a credibility issue of my research. Okay? And so you must immediately box up all the gluten in the house, clean the house. I mean, you have to clean the house. Okay? Get all the dust out of the rugs, off all the furniture, rewash all the bedding. You got to give all the dog food and cat food that's dry, that has oats in it and stuff like that, and kind bars with oats and all the bed. Don't say, well, I'll just eat the last 3 bagels. Well, that's why you're going to die, because don't do that. You box up all the gluten, including the beer and the whiskey and everything like that. And if you want to distribute it appropriately, I used to say this in humor. For doctors who have missed this so badly, all the gluten should go to them. Don't throw it away. Give it to your doctor.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm saying that with tongue in cheek.
Right. No, I hear you. Okay. Yep.
There has to be payment. for all the bad stuff here. Now, the current status of this is from this morning. The world numbers of the corona infections are 246,275, almost 250,000. The new cases were 570 from yesterday. The number of dead worldwide is 12,860. The United States is 14,250 cases. The new cases in the last 24 hours are 2,976. The total dead is 205. Of that, 48 are dead in the last 24 hours. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But everybody in America has a coronavirus infection, including babies. But they don't get it because their own white blood cells have been called the cavalry in to kill the virus, and they do a very good job. The reason why the seniors are in trouble is because of the gluten. And that's why Italy has the highest rate of new cases, the highest death rate, and they are going to go on. They will be the longest, what should I say, running new infections and deaths of coronavirus of any country in the world. And they're looking for the vaccinations.
Right.
Well, that's going to be 18 months away. So what they want to do is look at their towns, because there's some subcultures in Italy, because of their connection with Asia, eat rice and sweet potatoes and vegetables. And pasta is a very small portion of their diet. If everybody in Italy gives up pasta right now and gives it to the farmer who's going to feed it to their cows and their sheep and pigs, because when you feed it to the animals, it can come through in the milk. It can come through in the milk, okay, but it won't, and eggs, but it won't come through the meat.
So what can they do? So I got because let's say you're like right now, I'm recording this from Philadelphia. So they're closing schools. They're, you can't have restaurants. They shut down the NBA.
They should be giving the kids a piece of paper that says, Mom and Grandmom, you got to get rid of all the gluten out of the house, the dog food, the cat food, the bird food, everything with gluten in the house has got to go. This information needs to get to grandma. This information needs to go to your workplace.
Yep.
This information needs to go to the church. This information needs to go to the temples, in the mosque. This information needs to go everywhere. The gluten must go. There are no such things as gluten-free wheat, bran, and oats, okay? And so you have to start living on rice. You have to, and sweet potatoes, potato flour, rice flour, things like amaranth, all those kinds of things are safe.
Okay.
They don't have any gluten in them. Vegetables, okay? Immediately. Get it out of the house immediately, okay? And get on the 90 essential nutrients. For little kids that are still having baby formulas and breastfeeding, we have what we call Kids Toddy, okay? That's why April 16, 2013, the first newspaper in America, 3 months after the federal court came out and said, okay, Wallach, you get an award here. We're going to force all the manufacturers of baby formulas to put this one mineral in the baby formula. 3 months later, the Charlotte Observer came out with big headlines like the Third World War. We don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished, is the word they use, has vanished in North Carolina. Right. Sudden death syndrome has vanished in North Carolina because I forced them to put that nutrient into baby formulas. All babies that died of crib death, formula-fed babies. None were breastfed babies.
Wow.
None of them, only 2%, Curtis, were in the bed with their mother when they died of crib death. Wow. None of them died of suffocation. They all died of a heart attack called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease. I'm the only one. I did 1,700 autopsies on kids that died of that disease, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease, a sudden death heart disease of athletes, and also the cause of sudden heart death of crib death babies. I did 1,700 autopsies in Qishan, China, because they have the highest rate of that death in the world. I went there through Dr. Milan, a Chinese microsurgeon who taught microsurgery, and did research at Harvard Medical School.
Yeah.
Okay. And I first met her, and we started doing studies together in Texas in 1985, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, she had the connections in China, And I said, I need to be going to Keyshawn, China to do those autopsies. Well, my parents have connections there. 2 weeks later, I'm going to Keyshawn, China and did 1,700 autopsies.
Okay.
And that's why the crib death is gone. You look it up.
Back to a nutritional. So one of the things I want to do, I want to give out a number right now. Mm-hmm. So I want y'all to, if you want more information on some of the, Doc mentioned the 90 essential nutrients.
Yes.
If you want to find out more about that, I want you to call 1-800-632-9657. We'll also put it in the show notes. But so I wanted to make sure I get that out there. We'll put it in the show notes and a website you can go to. But I want to, so now we know you shouldn't eat gluten. Tell me now, what are some things that maybe people can add to their supplement with, to their diet, That's the ultimate question. That's the ultimate question here, Curtis. Mm-hmm. And, when the average person goes to their doctor and say, with all this coronavirus running around and all this kind of stuff, and I'm getting in my 70s, shouldn't I be taking some vitamins and minerals? And Curtis, 99.99999% of the time, the medical doctor would say, just eat right, you get everything you need, don't waste your money on vitamins and minerals. Well, that would be the same as your mechanic saying, Curtis, don't worry about putting oil in your car. Don't waste your money putting oil in your car. Just get some dirt from Texas. It's only 10 cents a quart. Put dirt from Texas in your car. There's bound to be some oil in it. Well, right. Even an insane person would not do that to their car. But yet everybody says, well, my doctor says I can eat well and get everything I need. I don't need to supplement. Well, then you're dead. Right.
Okay. You have to appreciate all vertebrates, including human beings. And this is why, again, my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. All vertebrates, including humans, Curtis, require 60 minerals to fend off all these diseases, make all the proper improvements and repairs and development of your parts. Prevents all birth defects. We can prevent all birth defects. None of the birth defects are genetic. If everybody in your family who are in the childbearing years takes the 90 essential nutrients, and you stay away from viruses and things like that, and poisons and prescription drugs during pregnancy, there will not be another birth defect.
Wow. That's bold.
Okay? That is bold, okay?
Yep.
So you have to supplement. We came out with what we call the Healthy Start Pack. The Healthy Start Pack has 248 nutrients in it, including all 90 of the essential, and the others are slowly being identified as essential, required by your body to make stuff and repair stuff, okay, make healthy embryos. I have a great story, which I'll tell you in a minute about that. So you need to get rid of all the bad stuff so you can absorb, no gluten, so you can absorb. You take the 90 essential nutrients. I've been doing this twice a day now for 72 years, Curtis. Taking the 90 essential nutrients. I'm much older than I look. I was going to be institutionalized and hospitalized when I was 9 years old. And I figured it out, and I cured myself in 3 days after 20 doctors wanted to institutionalize me because they thought I had a genetic thing and blah, 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 blah. And I figured it out in 3 days, and I was only 9 years old. I couldn't even read or write.
Right.
Okay. And so, at any rate, you take the 90 essential nutrients, maximize absorption by staying away from the gluten. And, I have 2 glasses of wine a day, one before dinner and, one after dinner. I have a glass of red wine. It's made out of grapes. And then I eat steak every night for dinner. I have 4 eggs twice a day from grass-fed chickens. Why grass-fed chickens? Because they're not giving them any grain. They're not getting any wheat, barley, rye, and oats. If I'm going to have dairy products, it's all going to be from pasture-fed, grass-fed cattle milk.
Right.
Because there's no gluten going to be coming through into the milk or the eggs. Okay? And so for 72 years, going on 73 years now, I have not had a sickness. Now, I've had injuries, which I've recovered from,
right?
Physical injuries, but no sicknesses, no colds, no pneumonia, no viruses of any kind, nothing. Because I've been taking my 248 nutrients twice a day. Okay.
So I want you to hear that, guys. Success leaves clues. All right. And so Doc is running it down for you. So it's you got to start. See, it starts with, because you're like, some of you are like, well, get to the stuff I can take. Well, you got to go backwards, right? Because if you take it and you can't absorb it, it won't do any good.
Yes.
You
Now, I'm
know,
going to give you two quick stories here because we're getting short on time here. One story is when it comes to birth defects, there's 10 Arctic foxes born with cleft palate to a pair of Arctic foxes that were caught wild in Alaska. They're in the zoo where I was doing some pathology work in St. Louis. And they said, Doc, we want you to kill these foxes because, just give them the injection because they had 10 babies and want the babies killed and the 2 foxes killed because the 10 babies were born with cleft palates. They said, well, it's not a genetic thing. What were we feeding them? Oh, we fed them horse meat because we're meat eaters. Okay, well, did you give them any vitamins, minerals? No, they're meat eaters, so we just gave them horse meat. Well, that's why the babies all had cleft palates. Okay, so don't kill them. Well, we already killed 3. Okay, well, bring me the 7 remaining ones. I want the two little boys to be put in with the mother. In 6 months' time, when they're going through puberty, I want them to get their mothers pregnant. I want the 2 little girls to be put with father so he can get them pregnant when it's 6 months down the line when they go through puberty. The ones that are left, I want the brothers and sisters to mate when they're 6 months old. In the meantime, I want the mothers and fathers to get dog food. I want the babies to be fed the puppy formula for orphan puppies when they get ready for solid food, feed dog food. And call me in less than a year when they all have their babies. Don't kill them. This is a very valuable experiment. They call me when 100 baby foxes were born to all those inbred breedings. You know how many had cleft palates? 0.
Okay.
Because it was simple nutritional deficiencies of the embryo because all they gave them was meat and didn't give them any vitamins and minerals with the meat. Okay. Now, that experiment was published in medical journals, veterinary journals, scientific journals. It's in the book Rare Earths Forbidden Cures. Okay. The picture showing these things. Okay. All the studies are in there proving that these birth defects are not genetic. They're simply caused by nutritional deficiency early when the embryo goes from a flat disc into, okay. The next one I want to share with you has to do, let's talk about kidney failure and dialysis.
Okay.
I've done this dozens and dozens of times. These people haven't urinated in 10 years. They're on dialysis 6 days a week. They have not urinated in 10 years. To make a long story short, we put them on the 90 essential nutrients. We have a particular formula for this, and we have secret sauces for over 900 different diseases, including type 2 diabetes and including arthritis. And okay, so you get the basic program, the Healthy Start Pack, and then you add the secret sauces to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Curtis, of older people that have 12, 15, 18, 20 different diseases. They got high blood pressure. They got diabetes. They got arthritis. They got thyroid problems. They got ringing in their ears. They got cataracts. They got sciatica, right? They got COPD. They got atrial fibrillation. That's one person that has all that.
Wow.
Man, you got bad genes in your family. No, they can't absorb any nutrition. Those are all nutritional deficiency diseases because they have osteoporosis and their villi are gone. And even if they were supplementing, they couldn't absorb the nutrients to prevent and reverse all those diseases. So we get them on a gluten-free diet. We get them on the Healthy Start Pack plus the secret sauces. And in 90 days, it's all gone.
So you can find that stuff, guys, if you when you call the number 1-800-632-9657. So it's the kidneys, it's
bone marrow.
It's bone marrow. So it starts in the bone marrow, right? Starts and I heard in the gut. There's things like I'm going to do rapid fire. I want to hit some stuff. So talk about diabetes and
healthy blood sugar pack.
Yeah, healthy blood sugar and hypertension.
If you've had type 2 diabetes, which is 98% of the diabetic population, if you've had it for 30 years, brittle diabetic, in 30 days you'll be an ex-diabetic if you take the healthy blood sugar pack. I'm just getting some listener questions I had when I was letting people know I was going to interview you. I have a ball player that he said what about joints and I have knee replacement and that kind of stuff. I take people, who have bone-to-bone arthritis. I mean, we're talking about people like Theo Ratliff, basketball, okay? And he had bone-to-bone arthritis in his knees. I rebuilt him in 90 days and actually built my sports drink Rebound with 100 nutrients in it, no gluten in it.
Mm-hmm.
Theo Ratliff, he lost his contract with the Atlanta Hawks, and he rebuilt his knees, his hips, his shoulders, his arms, and everything. He played for another 11 years when he came back after I rebuilt him. He made $140 million in contracts. You think his wife, Christina, loves me? Christina and I are buds.
I bet she does.
You ever hear of Evander Holyfield?
Yes.
Great heavyweight champion?
Yep.
Okay, he had to voluntarily give up his championship because he had a heart attack. I rebuilt him. He came back in 6 months' time, had to fight to regain his championship. And then he fought for 3 more years and won 2 or 3 times a year for 3 years his championship boxing again because I rebuilt him. Rebuilding knees is easy. Rebuilding hips is easy. I do that a million times a day throughout the world. It's easy. We have the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack and the MSM, and it rebuilds cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, bone matrix.
All started with proper supplementation, but starting with see, now I see the patterns. I didn't know this part before when I was listening to your stuff. Starting with the gluten,
yes, so you can absorb,
so that you can absorb it. Because if you take it and you can't absorb it, it doesn't do any good.
That's right. It costs you money, and all you're doing is feeding the fish as you flush it down the toilet.
And see, the thing is, you have the ability to do this. So you can sit around with your thumb in the mouth, being locked in the house, waiting for hopefully that some government or whatever is going to create what is that thing called? A vaccine against it. Or you can
start now.
Do it in 2 months and solve your problem. You can solve that problem. I'm back to COVID. I'm sorry. But, but get yourself healthy so that your body can do what God designed to do,
right.
Which is fight off illness. You have the ability.
Yes, we have the ability to do with over 9.
Get me fired up. All right. So
now you understand it. You heal the bone marrow so you can absorb the nutrients. You're taking the nutrients. Your nutrients gets rid of all these diseases: high blood pressure, diabetes, kidney failure. Let's see here.
Alzheimer's.
High blood pressure. Alzheimer's is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I have one guy who was in a coma, Ray McGregor. He was in a coma for 8 years being fed through a G-tube. They were hoping to keep him alive long enough until a cure for Alzheimer's came along. I've been doing it for like 18 years for Alzheimer's disease and the 7 other dementias. And we gave him his supplement program through his G-tube, right? Because he's in a coma.
Right.
We gave it through his G-tube. In 3 days, he gets up and goes back to work at the bank. He thought he was only asleep one night. He'd been in a coma, Curtis, for 8 years. He thinks he's only been asleep for one night. He goes to work at the bank. Now, he'd been sick for 3 years before he went into the coma, and he was being treated by doctors for Alzheimer's disease with drugs. He goes into the coma. They're just giving him Ensure, and some electrolytes, and it's amazing he lived that long. His sister called and he said he's down to 0 brainwaves. So I gave him this stuff 3 times a day, plus the diet through his G-tube. 3 days, he wakes up, he goes to the bank, he's perfectly normal. And they think none of the people at the bank were there when he was there, so they think he's got some clever way he's trying to rob the bank. He says, "This is my desk. What do you mean? What are you talking about?"
Wow.
This is what we do by healing the bone marrow, giving your body what it needs, the 90 essential nutrients, and so your bone marrow can make the white blood cells to attack the coronavirus, and people will stop dying tomorrow.
What else can they sell? I want to go back to Corona. So I want to give them some stuff in addition. So, right, they have to clean the system out so that it absorbs. Now you got the Mighty 90. And then I know there's sprays that I heard you talk about this, some other stuff that they could do. Like, talk about that.
Now we're talking about things they can do to actually kill the bugs right now. Now, before penicillin was invented and patented in 1938, just before the Second World War, the antibiotic that killed every virus and every bacteria and every germ you can think of for 2,000 years was colloidal silver. I have a colloidal silver. You put 1 dropper full of that into a couple ounces of water, into a spray bottle. You close your eyes, you spray your face, you inhale it up into your nasal passages in your throat. You put some in your mouth, you brush your teeth with it, you gargle with it and swallow it. You kill the coronavirus. It kills everything, including the plague bacteria and all the germs that were around for 2,000 years, colloidal silver. Why do not doctors want it? Because you don't need a prescription for it.
Right. Okay. See, why does nobody know this? You've got people on TV talking about this and shutting stuff down, and you're telling me, that's...
I can kill the coronavirus in 0.3 of a millisecond with our colloidal silver.
Okay.
Also, we have things like, and again, you go to weird countries like Australia, they were the first ones to really appreciate eucalyptus oil and tea tree oil and cedar oil. They actually also support your immune system and kill bugs. Okay, and we also have the things from to support the immune system, so your white blood cells are stronger. Okay, we have what we call Cell Shield RTQ, which is a blend of R is for resveratrol, which comes from red wine. 2 of our capsules twice a day of Cell Shield RTQ gives you the same amount of resveratrol, which is in 250 glasses of red wine.
Wow.
Okay, support your immune system. That is the answer to coronavirus. Okay, cell shield RTQ. We have what's called fucoid Z radical. Again, a bunch of herbs that actually kill bugs, including viruses.
Mm-hmm.
If people take these things every day at home, they change their diet, get rid of the gluten. They're taking the 90 to give their bone marrow what it requires to make white blood cells and get rid of all the inflammation. This corona thing will be gone in weeks.
I always tell people, and my philosophy is that, you build a community from the bottom up, not from the top down.
That's correct.
And whether it's financial, but now we're talking about, because if you don't have health, it don't matter how much damn money you have, right? And so,
just for since you're on the pricing thing, I want people to know that I do not make a single penny from the sale of any of those products. I do not make a single penny by seeing patients. I don't take patient fees or anything. I do it all for free. I make my living by selling books and CDs and DVDs.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so the more of those products I sell, I don't make any money from it. So it's not like I'm telling you this so I can make money from it.
Right. We're not hawking stuff. We're trying to save your life. Exactly.
I'm trying to save America. Now, I have to tell you that I spent 7 years in the Army, and I spent 20 years in the Air Force, retired out of the Air Force, a lieutenant colonel. So I know how to deal with bad boys. I know how to take a process to the field and make it work.
Okay.
Because of my military training. Okay. And that's in addition to my 3 doctorates and 2 BS degrees, one in military science and one in agriculture.
Okay.
So I'm saying these things for credibility.
Right.
Because people are saying that Wallach, he's saying things. Well, how come that's so simple. How come my doctor didn't say? Because your doctor doesn't make any money by telling you to take colloidal silver, by telling you to give up gluten.
There's no profit in the cure. Not to throw them under a bus. And they don't study, they study maybe a semester of nutrition, or if they study nutrition at all. Yeah. And so they get taken out by, I used to date a girl that was what else things called a pharmaceutical sales rep. Mm-hmm. And they start taking them to dinner like as third-year medical students when they're starving to death, taking them to the Ritz-Carlton and wine and dine them and showing them drugs.
Ask what diseases are caused by gluten consumption. Ask Siri, and you'll know more about that in 30 seconds than your medical doctor knows after 8 years. Oh, yeah. Here's where I was going with this, Curtis. And then we can get back because Ms. Linda says we have another 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. But these are statistics that people have to know. Number one, this is Johns Hopkins. And this came out in 2016, and Johns Hopkins was looking at the top 20 causes of death in America. And they published this in medical journals. It was in the newspaper. It was in the front page of every newspaper of America, and nobody paid attention to it except me. And Johns Hopkins said the number 3 cause of death in America, now this is heavy duty, Curtis, the number 3 cause of death in America, okay, are simple mistakes in hospitals by doctors. Wow. The number 3 cause of death in America each year, medical doctors kill, that's the word they use, Johns Hopkins, kill 251,000 people every year from simple mistakes in their workplace. Every 4 years, they kill 1 million patients in their workplace.
That's incredible.
How many businesses could stay in business with that record?
Not even, I don't even say the restaurant, but yeah.
They pay the surviving family, which is happy with $1 million, and so they keep their license.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's go to Center for Disease Control. 2004, the federal government that controls the data from plagues like we're going through right now. Center for Disease Control, big agency, government, not me. They said our generation, our kids' generation, our kids will be the first generation of Americans that do not live as long as their parents. Despite billions of dollars of research, despite billions of dollars of training and all the doctors and medical schools, our children will be the first generation of Americans that do not live as long as their parents. So what a terrible indictment against the medical system. They kill 251,000 of their customers every year in their workplace, never go to jail for it. And the children of their patients, will be the first generation that do not live as long as their parents. Mm-hmm. That's what we're getting by listening to the doctors.
What are the results of all of this health care, quote unquote?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a terrible testimony. Mm-hmm. Our children will be the first generation that do not survive their parents. They will die before their parents. And every year, by simple mistakes in their workplace and hospitals, doctors kill is the word that Johns Hopkins use, 251,000 every year. Oh, also, just last year in 2019, the Center for Disease Control came out again, said, our maternity hospitals are the worst in the world. Every year, by simple mistakes, medical doctors delivering, OBGYNs, by delivering babies, cause permanent injuries in 50,000 women and kill 800 going to maternity hospitals in America. They're listed as the worst in the world. Front page story.
Wow. So again, if you can make yourself stronger, you won't put yourself in these environments where you can get infections or have medical mistakes. If you can,
that's the whole story here.
Right. You come always back. Again, it goes back to be able to get the mighty 90, I call it, and then be able to absorb it, and then have the extra ingredients. If you've got, I've taken, for example, the healthy blood pack, for sugar,
for
the healthy blood sugar pack with the sweeties.
Let's stay on that for a minute. Have you ever heard of the Pima Indians?
No.
The Pima Indians are an ancient Indians from Mexico. Okay, half of them live in Mexico and half of them live in the United States. They're the same genetics. Pima Indians, P-I-M-A, Pima Indians. The Pima Indians in Mexico have the lowest rate of type 2 diabetes in the world. And the Pima Indians, the same genetic population. I mean, there's only a line on the map between where they live in Mexico and where they are in California and Arizona and New Mexico and Texas and so forth. The ones in America, particularly in Parker, Arizona, have the highest rate of type 2 diabetes in the world. These are genetic cousins. I mean, one brother lives in one place, they cross the line, they live in the other place, and the one that came to Parker, Arizona has the highest risk of diabetes in the world. The one that stayed in Mexico has the lowest risk, okay? That's because type 2 diabetes is caused by a deficiency of one or two minerals. You can get it from a deficiency of either one of those deficiencies, or many people have both deficiencies, okay? So we came up with a healthy blood sugar pack. You take that, and in 30 days, usually your type 2 diabetes is gone, but you have to be able to absorb it, so you got to get rid of the gluten so you can absorb it, okay? Right. Now, in Parker, Arizona, we're going to be working with them in the Pima tribes. We're going to wipe out this disease that was said to be genetic by all the doctors that are treating all these Pima Indians for 100 years. We're going to wipe out their type 2 diabetes in weeks because it's a simple nutritional deficiency, okay? Type 1 diabetes is kind of interesting. You're born with it. It's a birth defect. Mama was missing something when the beta cells were being formed in the islets of Langerhans in your pancreas that make insulin, okay? You're born with it. Now, there's some people who, and you'll figure this out, Curtis, you're very quick. There's some people who don't have diabetes. They don't have diabetes, but they develop diabetes when they're say, 40, 50 years old. The doctors give them the pills. It doesn't work, so they say, oh, you got type 1, you're going to have to use insulin. What happened there? Why did they not respond to the pills?
Because they couldn't absorb the.
You get 100. You're an A+ man. They couldn't absorb them. They couldn't absorb the pharmaceutical any more than they could absorb the nutrition.
The nutritional.
And so they say,
so now they inject it right into your bloodstream. Yes.
So now they give them the injection. See, your blood sugar came right down because they bypassed the intestine by giving them the injection. You got it?
Yes.
And that's how the doctor, well, you're type 1, you have to keep coming to me every month. You get your prescription, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Right. So with the Pima Indians, the ones that were on the U.S. side, I want you to finish that story. They're
not getting the nutrients.
They're not getting nutrients. Same tribe, same genetics.
Yes. Identical twin. Yeah. Okay. Now here's the deal. Nutritional minerals do not occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. You take carrots from New Jersey, from Atlanta, Georgia, from Miami, from Louisiana, from Idaho, from Washington State, from California, from Indiana, and do an analysis. They'll all have different amounts of minerals in them. Some of them, a lot of the minerals won't even be in there. The carrots don't need them. The carrots only need 3 to grow and make good seeds for the next generation. So the carrots are only going to be able to take up from the soil what's in the soil there. Does gold occur equally all over?
Nope.
No. Does silver occur equally all over?
Nope.
No. Does iron occur equally all over? No.
Nope.
When people were eating liver, everybody got their iron because it was stored in the liver. No matter where you lived, you got your iron. Oh, I can't eat liver.
Right. That's the problem. My mother, she tried to put it in gravy. I was like, This is liver. This is not steak. You can't trick me.
Okay.
So,
But you see what's going on here.
yes.
And so that's why you see, boy, I don't want to go live there. They have such a high rate of cancer in that state. It's not from the pollution, it's because they're missing the nutrients to support your immune system and prevent the cancer.
See, I want y'all to get the process here. It's not, you're looking for the a cure for a disease, but why do you get it? See, if you cannot get it by proper supplementation,
That's correct.
then that's the trick. Because not even the trick, it's foundational. Because I've heard you say and I had pulled that report that our soil, from 1931, that our soil was dead. Right?
Yeah, but that's true. But there's still places before 1931 that didn't have the minerals in there.
Okay.
That's why animals migrated through those areas, because if they stayed there, they died. They wouldn't set up. I mean, there's billions of empty acres. Why don't people set up housekeeping there? Because the animals won't live there.
Right. So it doesn't do any good. So we don't get them. And so here's the thing. So if you only need 3 things to grow healthy carrots or healthy fruits, and you tell me, because people say, well, I'm vegetarian. Well,
you're dead.
The plant, you're still 87 short. In other words,
that's why
whether you're vegan or what's the other? If you eat
vegans,
what's that other food?
Lacto-vegetarians.
Yeah, and I only eat organic, right? And so it doesn't. That's good, but it's still not enough. See, people don't get that it's not enough.
That's right. You're not going to guarantee the 90 essential nutrients by going organic,
right? Or
being a vegan. Did being a vegan help Steve Jobs?
Nope.
Did it help Joe Biden's son?
Nope.
Did it help Elvis Presley? He was a vegetarian in the end, and he died of a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart disease, like an athlete, cardiac heart attack. Michael Jackson died of a ruptured aortic aneurysm, which is a deficiency of a single nutrient, because he was on a gluten-free diet. That's why he wasn't bleaching himself to look white. He was white because he couldn't absorb the nutrients necessary to make skin color. That's why his eyes went blue. That's why he had to wear lipstick, because his lips were as white as his T-shirt.
Wow.
Same way, with Karen Carpenter. She died of a ruptured colon because she had Crohn's disease. All 3 of them died from gluten issues.
Wow. That's incredible.
If they would have gotten off of gluten and gotten on the 90, Elvis would still be here. I'll tell you, Willie Nelson's still on the road again because I rebuilt him.
Okay. You've also said with, I think you talked about selenium with the, I'm a basketball player. So the whole Reggie Lewis and his dream team of doctors, half of them are dead, right?
He died at 28.
28.
From a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart attack, which is a simple deficiency of one nutrient. Okay. That's why I went to Qishan province, China. I did 1,700 autopsies on those kids that died of the same thing. Mm-hmm. And they happened to be doctors there when he had his first heart attack during the game. And they were able to run up there with the oxygen and the machine, and they saved him. And then they got him stabilized and put him at home on 4 cardiac drugs for his heart. And he died of a second cardiomyopathy heart attack rate disease 2 weeks later. He's one of the few people on earth that ever had 2 hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart attacks. So usually the first one kills you. Well, they were there, right there, and they saved him for a couple of weeks, and then they didn't give him the nutrients, and so he died of the second hypertrophic cardiomyopathy heart attack.
Wow, this is outrageous. Folks, this is the most important Practical Wealth show I've ever done. Okay, I hope y'all appreciate this, because this stuff is going to, if you'll listen, don't be hard-headed, and because it's not, but you got the ability you have to take control of your life. You got to take control of your health. As to our show, what I teach, you got to take control of your money, but you got to start with your health.
Yeah, personal environment. Get rid of the gluten.
Yep.
I mean, get rid of it now. As soon as this program's over, get rid of it now, and then come back and listen to the program again, and then look for more and get rid of it. But you want to call in to Ms. Linda, and she will get you into the system to where you can actually get these products for wholesale. We won't even charge you retail. Okay. Right. And if you get on auto ship, I'll even pay for the shipping. If you get on, I'll pay for the shipping if you get on auto ship. So Ms. Linda will take care of you.
So so I want you to, let me just, since you said that, let's just put that out. I'll put it in the show notes again, but it's 1-800-632-9657. Folks, because I'm scared. I mean, I'm not scared now because now I'm hearing this stuff. But what I'm saying is, I think people just don't know. and they're getting their information from CNN. And see, the news is not meant to educate. It is meant to startle, right? To get your attention, to keep you've got people, bureaucrats seizing power, but they don't have the cure, or they don't know what up from down. And see, so what happens is you've got to do what you can do within your church, within your families, within your community to protect yourself. And that's why I'm doing this show.
Well, thank you, Curtis. And again, doctors are telling the government, we need vaccinations, we need vaccinations, we need vaccinations. That's the only answer. Until then, we need respirators to keep people alive as long as we can, because most of them are going to die anyway. But, respirators will save a few percentage points. I'll give you statistics here following their system. Worldwide, right now, again, there's 246,275 cases of corona. As of this morning, there were 12,860 deaths, of which 570 were new cases, deaths. Okay. From the USA, 14,250 cases. In the last 24 hours, there have been 2,976 new cases. There's 205 dead, of which 48 were in the last 24 hours. If everybody gets off of gluten, don't say I'm going to eat my last dozen cookies here. Give them up now. Do not eat the last cookie. Do not eat the last cracker. Do not drink the last beer, because that's the one that's going to kill you. Okay? Immediately contact Ms. Linda if you don't already have. If you have some colloidal silver at home sitting in the back shelf that grandma had when she died 6 years ago. Okay? If you have these aromatherapy oils. Now, Wallach, you say oils are bad. Oils are the worst possible thing for your diet. So why do we use aromatherapy oils? Because chemically, they're not an oil. They're an ester. They're only 2 carbons long. And chemically, they're not an oil. They don't do the same bad things to you that oils do that have 18 to 35 carbons in them.
When you say oil, stop there for a second, because I'm not sure I like so.
Aromatherapy oils feel slippery like oils. So 1,000 years ago, they put them in the same class as like corn oil and soy oil and eucalyptus. Eucalyptus oil is all put in the same class. But eucalyptus oil is only 2 carbons long, and soy oil and olive oil is 18 to 30 carbons long. One of them.
You're talking about oil, cooking oil.
Yes.
Olive oil.
Yes. All that's
margarine.
All bad.
I know you eat a stick of butter a day. Yeah. Butter's not good for you. Butter's not bad for you. Salt is not bad for you. You said that.
Yeah. No. Salt is your best friend. It gets rid of reflux. Now, wait a minute. My doctor said I have acid reflux. Well, salt makes acid, which sterilizes your stomach, and the bacteria don't ferment food, so you don't get gas anymore. You're on I'm a salt-restricted diet. Well, that's why you have reflux, stupid. You have reflux, not enough stomach acid. Everything the doctor has told you is 180 degrees wrong.
Wow. Man, we might have to make this a monthly or quarterly segment.
I'd be honored.
That is so much to unpack.
And even if you just get off the gluten, and if you have cheese in the icebox and milk and stuff, you want to start really hitting that hard. And again, Miss Linda can get that CD for you called A Stick of Butter Day, keeps the doctor away. Butter's your best friend. Cholesterol is your best friend. Oils are your worst enemy.
Okay.
Cholesterol is your best friend. Cholesterol does not cause plaque in your arteries. It's oxidized oils.
Wow. And so I've heard, let me hit this for a second. So the brain is made up of myelin.
Yes, which is
right?
75%
which is cholesterol.
Cholesterol. When it goes away, can
you finish that thought? Go ahead.
When it goes away, you get Alzheimer's disease. And who's been telling people since 1942 to get on statin drugs and get off of cholesterol? Doctors. The medical system has created a disease that never existed called Alzheimer's disease. Now, there was dementia 2,000 years ago, senile dementia. That was caused by oxidation, by eating oils, by eating olive oil, causing like liver spots in your brain, causes senile dementia. Then there's vascular dementia when you fry things and they're causing plugged arteries in your brain. Clinically, they look like Alzheimer's disease, but Alzheimer's disease never existed before 1942. And here's why. In 1942, to make a long story short, Procter & Gamble gave the American Heart Association $1.7 million to demonize cholesterol so they could sell Crisco when they first made that. Crisco was first made in 1901, just before the First World War, by the Germans, as a smokeless, natural lubricant artificial lubricant for submarines.
Hmm.
After the First World War, they tried to sell it as soap. They couldn't do it. They couldn't sell it as soap. So in 1942, Procter & Gamble bought it from the Germans, said, well, we'll be able to sell our soap. And they couldn't sell soap because grandma was using lard, butter, cream, and eggs, for cooking shortening. So Procter & Gamble paid the American Heart Association $1.7 million to demonize what grandma was using to cook with. So they would use this old submarine lubricant now as a cooking shortening. And guess what it's made from, Curtis?
I'm afraid to ask.
Cottonseed oil.
Okay.
Oil.
Cottonseed oil.
And
it's funny when you
never occurred.
Yeah. See, because you're tracing it back to the root. Like
yes.
I used to remember. You remember what Willard Scott used to be on NBC, and he would show all these people over 100.
Yes.
But they would smoke cigars. They still were doing stuff. But one of the things I noticed, they all grew up on a farm.
They
we talked about you always talk about the fuel. They burned wood and they took the wood.
Stop there. Mm-hmm. What did they do with the wood ashes?
Put it back in the soil.
Put it in the garden. And they also ate it. When grandma was hungry or she had cravings, we didn't have pretzels in those days. We didn't have potato chips. Okay, so grandma ate wood ashes, which were minerals. Wow. That's why she lived to be 112 and she didn't supplement. She did supplement with the supplement of the day, which was wood ashes.
I had a friend of mine who's from North Carolina, and when she said, this is like 20 years ago, she said something really crazy. She said, I need to go out and I need to eat some dirt.
That's right. That's called pica, P-I-C-A, and that's what little kids do. Have you ever heard of cribbing?
Yes.
Okay, cribbing is where horses, chew on the rail in the barn. Yep. They got that term from kids chewing on the rail on the crib. And why did kids chew on the rail on the crib? Because they were missing minerals and they're chewing on the crib. And so that's why they put that plastic sheath on the rail on the crib to keep kids from eating the crib when they're minerally deficient.
Wow. Look, there's so much stuff to unpack, but if I were to kind of bring this to a head, is that, guys, it starts with bone marrow. Okay. Yes. It starts with being able to absorb just the stuff that you eat, right? But then start supplementing with the right stuff because you can't get what you need from what you eat. You have to supplement.
Plants don't need what we need. They only need 3 elements, N, P, K to grow and make seeds. We need 90.
We need 90.
Okay, if you're just eating plants and they look beautiful, it might only have, say, 6 minerals in it, near 54 short.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. That county, everybody in that county, they die of a heart attack. Well, that's because those minerals aren't in the soil there.
Right.
Now, we learned this in the animal industry. Remember, I'm a veterinarian as well as a physician. In the states that have the worst heart attacks in humans, we have 0 heart attacks in animals because we put that nutrient in their little alfalfa pellets because it's not in the soil.
Wow.
If we didn't put it in their alfalfa pellets, they would all die before they went to market and the doctors would go broke. That's why I got $25 million from the NIH, Curtis. They gave me $25 million because I'm the first one to publish that. When I was 21 years old, I was a graduate student and everybody was off for Christmas. And I ran into the first mass die-off in America from pollution. 500 died in one night. I had it figured out by the time the professors got back. They allowed me to be the sole author and publish it. And that was used by Marlon Perkins from the old Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom show.
I remember that. Yes.
Okay, I worked for him. So I gave him a copy. He took a copy of that publication of those 500 deaths from pollution, submitted it to the National Institutes of Health, and got me a $25 million grant.
Wow. All right, let me, because I know you got to go, Doc. I appreciate your time with us, and I'll be honored if I can get you back on. What are some closing thoughts? So I think because what happens is it's y'all gonna listen to this a couple times to get this out of there, and you got to call the number 1-800-632-9657, and we're gonna put some show notes where you can get links to look up this stuff. But I think that you've got to educate yourself as to the
family conference call.
Yeah.
The family conference call. Get everybody off of gluten. Get them on the 90 cents.
So let's cure this thing, right? So give us, Colonel.
Thank you.
Our marching orders as we close down this call of what we can do with our families individually.
Okay, well, you have to appreciate this. You said it well said here, Curtis. The kids who are newborn are getting the coronavirus just like grandma at 85.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't they dying? Because they're getting this milk formula with all these nutrients in it, because I sued the FDA 10 times in federal court to get the nutrients put into baby formulas.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they first made baby formulas, they only put 3 minerals in there. There were 57 short. And all the diseases kids were getting, they said were genetic diseases. They were really just nutritional deficiencies because the nutrients weren't in the baby formula. You have to get these kids, these newborn babies, either on the mother's breast milk and or the formulas. But if you're going to give them the formulas, you got to get what we call kids toddy, which have the essential nutrients in there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And also you want to get them, like I say, get them on the kids toddy, get rid of all the gluten out of the house, even though they're not eating gluten yet. If the mother's eating gluten, you ever hear of colicky babies? The gluten's coming through and giving the baby pain in their stomach.
Right.
Okay, is why they're colicky babies. So if the mother stops eating gluten, they can still breastfeed the babies. Okay, and then everybody in the household's got to get rid of gluten, so that and supplement with the 90, so that their intestines can absorb the 90, give their bone marrow what it needs to make the cavalry, which are the white blood cells, the neutrophils, the lymphocytes, the eosinophils, the basophils, so they can go kill the virus. That's why the babies and the kids, and millennials aren't having a problem, because their bone marrows are still getting enough nutrition squeaking through until about age 57. Now, after eating gluten and drinking gluten and eating gluten and drinking gluten for all those years, suddenly now almost 100% of your bone marrow is dead.
Wow.
It didn't happen light on, light off. It was a slow, gradual, okay?
Right. So
And
let me break that down for a second. So kids, teenagers, like my daughter's a freshman in college. She just got sent home, for example.
She probably has a coronavirus.
Oh, okay. So I've been keeping everybody cooped up in the house. No, they've been cooping themselves up in the house so they can get out and get some fresh air. But they're probably not going to get sick, but they could transmit. That's the fear.
That's correct.
Right?
They
Okay.
will be vectors. They will be carriers.
Right. And so now if you are if you can do stuff like the colloidal serum, the Mighty 90, you will boost your immune system. So if you don't have the bug, you can boost your white cells, right? White blood cells, so your cavalry can kick in, right? And then if you're an adult, let's say the adults, I'm 56, older, and then the seniors, then let's break it down for them. They've got to get off the gluten.
Yeah. Now, Curtis, just think about it. And I know I don't have a few moments left here, but just think about it. You hear these old people, I don't have enough platelets, so that's why I get bleeding under my skin. I have problems with anemia because I can't absorb B12. I have to have B12 injections. You've heard that all the time?
Yeah.
They can't absorb B12 because their intestines are gone because they're eating gluten. I have chronic anemia, and they thought I had leukemia, but I don't have leukemia. But my bone marrow is not making red blood cells anymore. That's because you've been eating gluten. Okay, getting the picture here? The doctors, they say, no more B12. Instead of saying get off of gluten and take the supplements, we're just going to have you come in once so we can get a B12 shot. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Right. I might title this show "Gluten Must Go." So, yeah. Any closing thoughts? I know you got to go.
Yeah, and so that's the closing thought. And again, we can save these seniors by getting them off of gluten. If you want to give them beer, but give them Japanese beer, give them Chinese beer, give them Korean beer made from rice. You got to have them gluten-free sushi, and you got to really read the labels, gluten-free sushi, and get them on sweet potatoes and rice, vegetables, and get them away from anything that's been made with wheat, barley, and oats.
Right. Oatmeal. Right. Oatmeal, my wife was like, it makes for oatmeal. I was like, you can't have that, but I just now I'm not in the mood to battle with her. But when I go home, when we do this recording, it's on. Okay. So folks, y'all had a real treat today. I want to thank you again, Dr. Wallach, for enlightening us.
Well, thank you, Curtis. And we're looking forward. We're going to make a tool out of this so everybody can share the information with everybody.
Yeah.
We're going to make a DVD out of this. And so it'll be, we'll have a DVD, we'll have a CD so you can listen to it in the car, and we'll make a DVD out of it also if we have pictures. Okay.
Right.
And so this will be available. And it's going to be, we will save America. We will save the world. We will save humanity, because this was a very simple problem that ignorance in the medical community has turned it into a nightmare.
Amen. That's an ignorance and, putting your faith in bureaucrats. So I'm not going to go there. But all right, so here we go. So we're going to get out here. We're going to do our best to get this message out and stop this at the core. Folks, tough times don't last. Tough people do. We've had viruses. We will adapt and overcome, but you need a little bit of help. You've got to get educated.
Well, that'll be another program. We just talk about the history of how we got rid of all the different viruses and so forth. And, of course, we have the angel, Miss Linda. We got the angel, Mr. Curtis May. And thank you for allowing us to participate. But if everybody just does the simple thing, as soon as we hang up, get the gluten out of your house, start taking as many vitamins and minerals you have, get a hold of Miss Linda, and get on the 90.
There you go. So Miss Linda, you can reach her at 1-800-632-9657. Tell them you heard about it on the Practical Wealth Show. And folks, get out there and protect yourself, protect your family, protect your church, and get this information out there. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. And we are out. Go out there and be healthy. Gluten must go.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written permission must be granted before syndication or rebroadcasting.